Hi, guys. I'm Jude from headfi.org, and we're here at headfi HQ, and we're joined by some very special guests, Meze Audio with Antonio Meze and Mircea Fanatan from Romania. So they're here. We came straight from CanJam SoCal.
Right.
So we're all that was a great show.
It was.
Yeah,
Lots of people.
very busy. So we're all a little tired, but we're here, and I'm so excited to have them here. So I want to talk a little. This is going to be a little unconventional because usually when we have special guests here, we're here to talk about a product. And today, I'm just more interested in talking. I mean, we'll get to product maybe. And the product I have on the table, which I definitely want to talk about, is the actual original Empyrean, because it's kind of part of, like, when I think of the history of when I first met you. I think I met you pretty much as Meze Audio was starting.
It was not exactly when it was starting, but it was when we launched our first fully in-house designed product, which is the 99 Classics. Because up to that point, we were kind of putting together headphones from existing parts that we found at different suppliers or factories. So yeah, I still remember very well that day, that moment when you came to our booth at IFA Berlin, and I knew who you are from headfi, obviously. So I was very nervous, and I still have that picture of you looking at our headphones.
Oh my goodness!
I was very proud of that moment, because you were smiling in the picture.
Was I smiling? Well, depending on what I weighed in that photo, I might want to see it. But anyway, so yeah, I remember that. That was IFA in Berlin, and I came upon your exhibit. It was actually a beautiful exhibit, as I recall.
Yeah, we put it together by hand.
Yeah. Drove the van 2 days to Berlin, slept in the parking lot.
Did you Did you actually sleep in the parking lot?
It's not that easy. We slept in the parking lot, but it was cold, so we had to take the carpets, and we rolled over the carpets around us, and that's how we slept. Me and Laurent, we were so tired.
I remember Laurent.
Yeah, because we arrived in Berlin at 4 a.m. in the morning, and there was no hotel. I mean, at that time we were like, in 3 hours we have to, start building up the stand, so let's just sleep here for a while.
It was actually I remember it as a fairly large exhibit.
It was more like a furniture, the whole booth.
Yeah.
We didn't know how people build booths because we just saw pictures from different trade shows. So we assumed they build it solid. So it was almost like a shop display. So
yeah, I recall that. So it was like a furniture grade display.
Yeah, it was massive, very heavy.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought I remembered. And I remember there were parts.
Yeah.
You had parts on display. You were showing the construction.
Yeah, a lot of parts from the 99 Classics and the 77 Deco, which never made it to production.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the 99 Classics was what year? That came out?
2015.
2015.
Yeah. So that was the year that I met you.
Yeah.
And that was the first time we met with IFA.
Yeah.
And then that was a hit. The 99 Classic was a hit. You then did another version of it, at least one other version of it.
99 Neo?
Yeah.
The Neo. And then, but I want to now fast forward. I mean, unless there's something you want to add about the 99 Classic and what that meant to you. I mean, that was really the start.
It meant a lot because it was the first product that we fully designed, fully manufactured. It was all our design and engineering. And it was, for us, a big surprise even that we could do it, because we initially didn't have the funds to develop and pay for the tooling for a new product. So
I love these kinds of stories because I know what it's like to start a business.
Yeah.
And we did crowdfunding back then.
Yeah.
Oh, were you crowdfunding?
Yeah, Indiegogo.
Yeah, but before that, 2-3 years, we were just slowly gathering money to do this, and we did that by the initial investment in the company was literally €5,000. So that's how it started.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, I bought parts for something like 30 headphones. That was the first batch, and then surprisingly they sold. And then another batch and so forth. Eventually, we had enough money to actually manufacture the headphone that meanwhile we were developing.
So at this time, who's working there?
So right at the beginning, it was me alone, just bringing headphone boxes to the post office in my backpack, 1-2 per day. And then a friend of mine helped me with shipping, so I could do meanwhile, customer support and do the design for new products and everything, and the new products that came out later. And then Mircea joined me together. Oh, Razvan
Razvan.
joined me. Yeah, he was the youngest employee for a long time. I think he was 17 when he joined, and he did marketing and YouTube reviews all these years and up to today, and many other things. Then Mircea and Vlad Soka joined me. Vlad is our golden ear up to this day. He's really good. And yeah, that was pretty much it. 3-4 people. So when we launched the 99 Classics, I think we were maximum 4 or 5 people at that point.
Maybe Alexis was also with us, but I can't remember. Yeah.
See, I love these stories, you know, and we were
Lauren.
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 He was with you in
yes,
Berlin,
yes,
right?
Yes, yes.
So we you know, we were just talking about this in the Can Jam SoCal preview about some of the, because there's some new companies where they're starting with 3D printing, making their own headphones.
Mhm.
And I brought up briefly, you know, the history of the companies, many of the companies that are making products for headfires. I mean, having been around this space since, you know, essentially 2000, 2001, you know, I've seen a lot of companies start. And it's, to me, one of my favorite things about the, you know, the being, I guess, one of the stewards of the HeadFi community, the website, is seeing these companies come, because we did not have that many companies that we talked about in 2001. And so, I mean, I remember Odyssey, like Shankar, the first time I talked to him, I think we were at a data center trying to fix some of our servers. And he called me to ask about splitting a table at a 2009 Can Jam LA to split a table with someone, because he said he'd just have like 2 prototype headphones and really nothing else. It wasn't so much about the money, which was probably like $500 or something. It was more about just, you know, having not 2 headphones on a big table. Then Dan Clark, you used to see him at all the meets. He was a DIYer turned headphone maker, and seeing him start, going to all the different meets. Same with Zach Marabach, ZMF. And I love seeing, I remember Zach came to our office, and was when he just started the company, I believe, and was talking about trying to meet minimum order quantities for certain things. Like, you know, it was tough, because when you start, you know, having the budget to do things. Now, all the companies I mentioned, you know, Odyssey, ZMF, Dan Clark Audio, Meze, like all of you have grown the businesses incredibly, actually, from the first days. Like when I think of, in each of those cases, when I think of the first time I met the people who started it, it's incredible, like where they've gone. So like right now, you've gone from sleeping in a parking lot in Berlin so that you could set up for the show. Probably, I'm sure that had something to do with budget, right? It had to,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I know what it's like to
Yeah, attitude and budget.
attitude and budget. And then now, how many employees, I mean, does Meze have?
Right now we're 60.
60 people.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. This includes the assembly people and shipping operations and so forth.
So 60 total people.
60 total.
Yeah, and you guys put on some pretty incredible exhibits. Like your exhibit at Munich was pretty, 2 years in a row I've seen is incredible exhibits. So anyways, let's talk about, I want to fast forward to the model that, in my opinion, completely changed the trajectory of Meze audio. We were talking about earlier the you know, the quote, "Fortune favors the bold." I remember you asking me what I thought of Meze making a flagship class headphone. Now, coming from the 99 Classic, I remember asking you, like, what are we talking here? Like $1,000 or something like that? And I think you said something like, well, what about 3,000 or something? I'm trying to remember.
I think the initial target was something like 2,000.
2,000. And so I mean, I don't remember what my response was. You know, I'm sure I was trying to be nice, but I was, I'm not gonna lie. I mean, you know, that was a big jump.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's not like you went to Flagship and then offered something, you know, more affordable. You were going from something that was mid-priced affordable,
Yeah.
to Flagship.
Yeah, actually our distributors were asking us very specifically to do something around the 99 Classics, because the 99 Classics caught on really well, and they were like, okay, can you do something, you know, maybe a bit above or a bit below and so forth. And we thought, okay, that makes total sense, and it's really good because if the dealers ask for it, that's the smart thing to do. But then this opportunity came up, and I'm not a business person, and I just followed my intuition and curiosity to do something that might not occur again as a chance. So I had this desire to make this thing what could be a hyper headphone or whatever, top of the line headphone, and that in a way blinded me. But then again, it seems like with everything we did, the reason it worked is not because there was a place for it in the market or because it's a good strategy, but more because we really wanted to do it. We really were excited about it. So because of that, it eventually worked out as a good product. And I feel like we're just talking today, like whatever the next move will be, I think we're too small, in a large market to think that we need to follow a trend or fill in a certain gap. And it's more likely to be successful if you, again, follow your craving to do something or your excitement to do something, because it's very likely you can get a pretty good product because you're like really into it.
Yeah, I was actually, like I said, I had reservations.
Mm.
Yeah, I was a little concerned.
Yeah.
To go from the 99 Classics to, I'm sure you probably perceived that, but the one thing that I could see on your face and from the way you were asking was that you were serious. Like you never seemed, anything but serious about it. So I figured if he's gonna do it, then at least he seems serious about it. You didn't want to dabble. I mean, there's more to this conversation that I won't get into the details of, but anyways, I want to go now to you tell me that you're thinking of doing this. I give you my opinion on it. I don't remember how positive or negative or neutral it was, but anyway, we talked about it. And then sometime later, and it was in Japan again, as I recall, that we met for dinner or something, and you had in the case the first version that I had seen. And I don't think it was the very first one you made because it was getting closer to finished. Not well. I don't remember exactly. I think it was still a ways away from finished.
Yeah, I remember it was on a terrace, and it was one of the in the middle prototypes. Let's say.
Yeah,
I remember.
okay.
I remember.
And then I remember when I saw that. If you recall my response, I was very encouraged at this point. So at this point, I'm very encouraged. Now I'm abbreviating a lot of this. I mean, we've had other conversations in between, and as you were developing it. But when that one came, when I remember seeing that, then I was encouraged. Then I understood where you were going, because I knew the 99 Classic was well made.
The reason why, I don't know if I can say I felt confident, but super driven, but that made me feel confident too, is the fact that I had a very clear vision of how the product should feel in the end. What is the experience that the customer should have with it. So I think this is why we were not that worried. We knew exactly where we're heading. And I think this is very important when you develop a product, because often I work as an industrial designer before the whole headphone thing, and often the people who make the product, develop the product, they're kind of alienated actually from the desire to make the product. The desire to make the product sometimes comes from someone else making the strategy. Maybe it's marketing, maybe it's the owners, maybe it's someone else. And then the engineers, the designers, they take it on as a task, as a brief. But me, I'm coming, I did art school from 5th grade on. High school was art school, and then university was art school. So my mind was set in this way that you kind of decide what to do, and then you also do it and finish it, because that's what you do in art, right? Whatever, it's a painting, a sculpture, a drawing, a illustration. So I felt like I need to apply this, to be fully in charge and responsible of the product. And yeah, I think that's why it worked.
So Mircea, you know which stage we're talking about, right? On that day, what were you doing at this time? There's probably still not many people there.
No. So I was either visiting Rinaro's headquarters in Ukraine,
right,
discussing with Pavlo and Konstantin about where the direction, how is the sound, the earpads. So it was, I think we did a few visits back then. So Antonio and Paul were designing the chassis and figuring out manufacturing, going to China and stuff like that. And I was with Vlad, visiting Pavlo, discussing with Konstantin, discussing about voicing. Back then, it was not so clear. How should I put it? So now we're talking Harman Kardon curve as being a reference. Back then, it was still debatable
Yeah.
how a good headphone, top of the line headphone, should be voiced. The diffuse field was still, you could still find headphones with diffuse field tuning. Bass was a subject that was not clear how much, or, yeah, beats, lots of bass. Other than that, no bass. So, yeah,
Usually back then, if we were talking about voicing and measurement, I'd talk to you more. Correct?
Yeah. And that's when we discussed a bit about European gain. How much should it be? Where do you see it? So
I remember talking to you more about that.
Yeah.
So that headphone, to me, when I saw that prototype, I got it, because the one thing that was clear by then, the chassis was becoming what we would know as what I have it right there as the Empyrean. And what year did it get released?
2018.
Okay, so 2018, the Empyrean was released. I don't remember how long it was between when we first talked about it and when that
2
happened.
years.
2 years. It moved pretty fast.
I mean, when we got that, actually was that unit. This is OG Empyrean. That's the unit. I believe that's the very first one that we'd ever seen. And I remember when it arrived, we were all like gathered around it like cavemen around a space, something that fell from space, because there was no questioning there. That you went after something, which I've talked about many times in previous videos, probably in the videos about these headphones or the Elite, about the build quality. It was insane. Like, and to this day, I don't know that I can think of any headphone that matches your flagships for build quality. We have an HE1 here. I mean, that's my high standard for sound. But the headphone part, to me, is still not as well built as this.
I would say there's many headphones that have really good build. There's a particular quality to this Empyrean and Elite frame, which comes from the fact that you have somehow some very, very sturdy, rigid parts, very tight tolerances, but then you have a flex to the whole assembly. So when I designed this frame together with my colleague Paul, we thought of it as a wearable. So headphones are, industrial designers usually do, rigid products, but these headphones have to be wearable and adjustable in so many ways. So we thought of it at the same from the beginning like that. So how do you make it wearable, but still it has some rigid parts? And when you hold it in your hand, you will notice that it's somehow flexible, but at the same time it feels precise. And this comes from the way it's built, the length of the carbon fiber, as we talked earlier, which shows a big span for the arch of the carbon fiber to have this very smooth opening and closing, and the clamping is very consistent at different dimensions and so forth. And also there's this little spring in the swivel of the cup and all that. So all this together give you this feeling of quality, which you take in and then you associate with the product. But other than that, I mean, I can see like HE1, if you look at it, it's precise. And there's other companies that have precisely built parts and so forth. But how does it feel all together? Some products might be super well built, but they might feel rigid as a whole. And then that takes away a little bit from the need that you have from a headphone.
No, I actually understand what you're saying. What was the goal from the outset, to make the best finished headphone that you had seen up to that point?
Yeah, I mean, I felt strongly that whatever is now in the market, although it functions very well and there's really good engineering, like mechanical engineering, I felt like on top of that there could be some artistry in it, and I felt like I think I can bring that to the table. So my idea is that any product that I make should have its best instance in the moment that you touch it, hold it, take it in your hands. Because I was very familiar with this situation where for any new product anyone launches, the best instance is the photo rendering in the advertising.
Right.
And then when you open up the box, it's almost never like that. I mean, with some exceptions, obviously, but
Yeah, sure.
usually it's not that precise. You see split lines in plastic or cast parts. You see little, imperfections or mismatches of assembly, or so. You notice them or you touch them with your finger, and its renderings are always better. So the point was that for this product, it should be better than the picture.
The living embodiment
It's better
of the rendering, or maybe even better.
So that's why we went for very difficult to achieve texture. For example, the ear cups were machined, and you could see the machine trace on that whole organic shape, which is very hard to achieve because those splinters from the machining keep scratching the cup or the parts themselves. So there was a lot of fine tuning, but everything was meant for the final experience to be really special.
I'm just giggling because about 15 minutes before we were shooting this, maybe 20 minutes before shooting this, we were out in the lobby. I say the lobby. People saw how small the headphone HQ is. Anyway, we were out in the lobby looking at some new headphones that aren't yours and watching the two of you examine the build quality of the aluminum chassis of another headphone. It was similar. Like you guys were, I was listening to what you were saying in English, the one you were speaking English, about like what was what in the chat, like what you were seeing in this. It was an aluminum chassis.
Yeah, it was a stamped.
And you were definitely looking at it in ways I never really thought to look at it. So yeah, I think you were, because you were examining it from. Anyway, so Mircea, you were the one that was doing a lot of the sound design for it or engineering for it. So was there anything about its design that he wanted aesthetically that ran counter to anything that you were trying to do or made your life more difficult in trying to voice it? Or did it just all fall into place?
Yes, there was something.
Is it something you can talk about?
Yeah, sure. So with the earpads, I suppose it was for the greater comfort. Antonio wanted very large contact surface, which sacrificed the internal volume of the earpad.
Okay.
So I had let's say, a challenge coming from Antonio's desire for the contact surface, and then voicing, and then Renaro's needs. And it was very stressful. I remember I had to call all my friends, the ones that knew how to sew, and bring in the office a sewing machine, and we did prototypes for the earpads every single afternoon. After the guy finished his daily job, he would come in and we would play around with different materials and foams. It worked out to some degree, but eventually what we had to do was to take the Grass 43G AG, put it in the suitcase, and fly all over to China to a earpad factory,
right,
and do prototypes together with their engineers. Right there, I took the headphones, I took the measuring gear, and they would prototype for us. Like in 1 week, we made something like 35 prototypes until we found like something that was comfortable, was feasible, and it was also, it looked good.
So I mean, it's the reputation of it as a comfortable headphone is very, everybody knows it is very comfortable. One of those headphones you can wear for ever. Did he get what he wanted? And did he get the surface area he wanted? You're talking about the skin contact area,
yes,
right?
Skin contact area. No. It was different in the end. But
okay.
It was
compromised.
We tuned it, and there's obviously, I mean, as people know, it's a really good distribution of pressure all over. So,
but we're talking maybe 2-3 millimeters, and it looked like a big difference, but
right.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about some of the other details about that headphone, the headband design, which we've touched on, but there's something, I think it's kind of in concept, it's simple. I have a fat head, and so I don't even know what the parts. I know what a yoke is, but the rods that go up and down. We always call them sizers here at the office. I have no idea if there's a proper name for it or sizing rods. We just call them sizers.
Yeah, we call them shafts, right?
Yeah, whatever they're called.
Sliders. The shaft.
I'm going with sizers for this discussion. So the sizers, for a lot of headphones, when on a fat head like mine, the sizers now go sideways. And so when you push them out, they can push the top of the head the earpieces out, which makes for a less than ideal distribution of pressure. This goes a completely different route. You sacrificed a low profile side profile, so it's quite a wide side profile. You have a recurve, almost like a recurve bow, and then the sizers come down off of that, so that they're more up and down. This is the way, in my opinion, right? It should be done. You guys seem to have figured that out. It's not a common design either.
We spent a lot of time looking at the geometry. I tried different geometries, and also, just by intuition, we kept tweaking it until it set in the best possible way, and it adjusted in the best possible way. So I think anyone can do this. I really don't think it's a big deal. You just have to, pay attention to discomfort issue.
Okay.
I feel like maybe in the case of many headphones, people kind of skip that and they just use an existing solution for whatever reason. I don't know. We thought this is really important, so we just paid more attention to this, but I really don't think it's anything special. It's just
now you're wrong, because it's not typical. So the sizer, even the way it feels, you guys obviously put a lot of emphasis on the feel of the things that move, from the tension and how you said it should feel smooth when you're, to the way that feels when that sizer rod goes through the main part of the chassis, or the headband. That even feels good. I mean, I take it that was intentional too.
Yeah, we both ride mountain bikes, and there's this performance suspension forks that also have this color. This is why this color is there. So the like Fox or RockShox suspensions, right? And if you ride this kind of things, you know how a good suspension feels, and that plush feeling is so good compared to some cheaper suspensions. So that makes the whole bicycle feel sturdier. The bicycle is rigid, but at the same time that suspension moves and absorbs shocks, and it's a very good feeling when a suspension fork works well. So I just thought, okay, why not try to have that feeling here? So when you adjust your headphone, it's actually a nice feeling rather than a weird rubbing or scratching of plastic on metal, or like...
I'm not sure what's in there, but it feels well damped.
Yeah, it's a mixture of 3 different rings that we put there with ribs and everything. It's a fine-tuning.
Okay.
It's just simple materials, but it's fine-tuning and it's stable.
I don't want to talk too much about, for too long about the design, but it's hard not to talk about the design. The ear pad mounting system, which now you're using the motor magnets really to hold that's okay. I'm going to say it again. This is another situation in which I think you develop.
This is Renaro's concept.
It's genius.
Yeah, it's good.
So it holds the pad on.
Yep.
And you're actually using the magnetism from the... Is it part of the... for some reason, is it part of the circuit at that point? Does it have a role? In terms of the magnetic circuit?
It levels out to some degree. It smoothens out the magnetic field.
Okay.
So the ferrous material in the grill, it smoothens out the magnetic field of the driver.
I just love it because I can change a pad in like 3 seconds, and you can change the different pads, and you guys have different pad tunings, and I know you put a lot of emphasis in the pads. I still remember I got pads from either you or Renaro. It was years ago. There's a bunch of them.
We both sent you.
Yeah.
We did ours, they did theirs. And it was a debate.
I think this was actually Renaro's desire from the beginning to have the it was their express desire that there's 2 ear pads in the box. They thought this is like super big value for the customer. And so we went with it, and they had this ear pad change mechanism, which works. So that's on them.
All right. Well, let's talk about tuning for Empyrean 1. And then we'll get to your current Empyrean. But let's talk about that one, because you came to market with that. I fell in love with it because I tend to prefer richer toned headphones and earphones. And I love the tuning of the original Empyrean, primarily with the, what were the pads that came with it? There was Alcantara, which is on it now.
Alcantara and the perforated leather interior with leather exterior.
Due respect, wasn't a big fan of the leather. That was a little too much for me, richness. When I went to the Alcantara, I think it was Alcantara.
Yes.
That one was it. That was my Empyrean jam, if you will. Like that, I really like that. So what were you going for? Were you aiming for a rich tonality?
I would say it's not correct to say that I was particularly aiming for something because between Rinaro and Meze at that point, sound was agreed on that it's their responsibility. So the development of the driver and the final tuning, it's on them. But there was a lot of back and forth because some things, let's say, were not necessarily aligned with what we considered is correct. So
Right.
we pulled on one end and they pulled on another end, and eventually we got to an agreement where we were both comfortable as sides. We wanted it to be, let's say, not necessarily as Empyrean 2 it is today, but closer, and they wanted it maybe on even richer than the original Empyrean was.
Yeah, I actually remember some of these discussions in early days.
But it was, I think, the result brought a headphone that was tuned in a way that not many top of the line headphones were
No.
at that moment, maybe not even one.
No.
So I think this debate was actually very constructive, and it ended up a product that it's different but still very much good. I mean, a good product, I think.
I remember those discussions. We were talking about it over lunch today. Yeah, I won't go in the details of that, but that was kind of exciting, and then to hear the final product. And I happen to love the original Imperial. Now I wanted to talk about the Imperial because it was such an important product, I think, because it was such a bold move to go to a flagship. You guys ended up making it work. I think it redefined the company completely.
Yeah,
I mean,
it did.
I think it did it in a good way.
It was really exciting times. I mean, we were achieving things that we were kind of hoping that we would, but then it actually happened. It was like, wow.
I feel like such a jerk to say that. I wasn't sure you guys were going to do it.
That's okay.
Yeah, I felt.
Now you can say.
I was now. Yeah, I can say it now. I was worried, a little worried because it seemed like such a stretch, and you knew I was concerned.
Yeah.
But
I was never concerned because I felt like this is so much fun that it's just like it's worth it. And we never took any loans. We never borrowed from anyone. Yeah, it was that initial 5,000.
Then you grew it.
Yeah. So I never felt that pressure. We were also not many people. Like now the pressure is higher because we have many employees.
I imagine it is.
So maybe I was also irresponsible, but yeah, maybe I was naive about business in general. But I just felt like it's worth it. It's worth it. If it doesn't work, it's okay. We had a really cool ride.
I think it takes an attitude like that to do it.
Maybe.
Yeah. No, for anybody. I think for anybody that has started a business from nothing, that's watching this, I think you guys know that I think in almost every story where there's success, there's some element of that at some point, and then there's also failure.
Recklessness and naivete.
Yeah, I mean, I've had some failures along my years of being in business where we've almost lost the business a couple times, historically in the past. Some of my older businesses, but yeah. So thankfully, HeadFi has been a pretty fun run. But now let's talk about the Empyrean 2. I mean, I'm almost skipping over the Elite because the Elite to me is kind of still in the vein of the original Empyrean. As far as I'm concerned, I'm really happy about that because, I hate to see that legacy completely go away. But with you guys, you seem to just do like daring things. We'll get to the Alba in a second. The Empyrean 2, you changed it up dramatically. It is now more of a neutral signature.
Jeez.
Now we're in this situation where Brian here, who really favors that kind of a signature, I like it too. It's unquestionable for him that the Empyrean 2 is the better headphone for him. And for me, I'm torn. And I think it's the original for me. But for anybody who wants a Meze, because the Meze Empyrean original is gone. Wrong, right?
No,
it's
gone. You might find it maybe.
Okay, but only on secondary market. You're not selling it anymore.
No, we're not.
But the Elite still is available. It's still your flagship.
Yes.
And I saw an interview that you did with Marcello at CanJam SoCal, but I'm going to ask it here. Like right now, are there any immediate plans to have an Elite 2?
No, I mean, we're not actively working on it.
Okay.
So every now and then our colleagues, we have now 3 people in the acoustic team, and maybe they're working on something without us
Sure.
necessarily knowing, and they're trying out things. But it's not in the plan to replace the original Elite in the, I don't know, next 12 months for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
we have
if
many
we-
other projects in the pipeline that we're much more certain that they're gonna happen. So
Okay. So yeah. So when you went to the Empyrean 2, were you deliberately going more? I mean, it was a big change. So you were deliberately going more neutral. At that point, I will say, I think it has a wider appeal.
Mhm,
I think more people, whereas the original Empyrean was more polarizing,
mhm.
but the people who loved it,
Really did.
like really loved it.
Yes.
So I have to imagine some of those people, when the Empyrean 2 came out, were probably not.
Yes, but we consider that. So let's say there was a more unanimous voice from the community.
Yes.
How a top of the line headphone should be voiced. So we said, okay, so if this is what the community tends to prefer, let's see whether or not we can improve on the Empyrean and voice it in that way. And since we had the Elite out, which was from a voicing perspective closer to the original Empyrean, we said that this way we can offer 2 flavors.
Right.
And the ones that want a more relaxed sound, they have the Elite, which is more technical. It can bring out more resolution without being, let's say, neutral or
Right.
right. So we started working on the Imperium V2, see how we can improve it, and this is the result. So now I think for the customers that prefer the original, they can always choose the Elite. And someone that wants a more neutral sound, they can try the Empyrean too.
Am I wrong? I think the Empyrean 2 probably has a broader market appeal.
I would say so,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yes. I mean, numbers say the same thing.
Okay, that's what I
So,
figured.
Yes,
Yeah, I was trying
yes,
to
yes.
get to
If
that.
it's numbers that you refer to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, because I think it's more along the lines of what most, like you said, I think it's what not maybe most, but more audiophiles would want that.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm just torn. Yeah, but I'm glad you have both still. Now let's talk about the Alba, because you guys are doing some things. There's the 109, 105. I prefer the 105 to the 109 personally. There's things about the 109 that I really love compared to the 105, but overall I take the 105, but it's less expensive. The Alba, I'm going to say it, I think it's your best IEM, and it's also your least expensive IEM. So, I mean, what are you guys up to here?
So what happened is that we built a team of 2 that handled this IEM lineup, and we gave them autonomy. So this is what happened, because before we were, using the same resources of our headphones and earphones, and it was just not working probably as it should be. And now with Vlad and another colleague, Yulong, working on this IEMs, they're fully focused, and they have all this knowledge that accumulated over time. And like you said, I also think that it's the best earphone we ever made. I personally really like it, and
I do too.
I think further based on this experience, I have full confidence in our team to keep developing, products without my involvement or Mircea's involvement. So this is really cool. You said we have 60 people. We already have autonomous departments, let's say. I mean, at the beginning, we knew everything. Now it's becoming more like, okay, there's people who have some power of decision. And this is, for us, really wonderful, because it's the only way you can have the people really develop and grow and learn and be better. When they have autonomy, they feel it. It's there. They have ownership. So the most exciting part of the Alba project for me personally is not so much the product, which I think is good, but it's the fact that the team believes in themselves after doing this product. And more we're building the team in this way, in the different departments where, they have the ownership.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, as a business owner, I actually respect a great deal what you were just saying there. Did it change? Did you learn something from that one that that was it's an affordable product, So I imagine volume is going to be quite a bit more in terms of sales. How does that did that change kind of? Did you anticipate it? I mean, you had to have, otherwise you wouldn't have released a $160 IEM. And then how has it affected you guys?
I think it brought out some other potential issues that we might have in the company, like communication between departments.
Yeah.
So yeah, we learned. I mean, you as a product owner, you want, Vlad, I'm talking from his perspective, you want the product to be as good as possible, as attractive as possible from a price point perspective, good value and all that. And you might neglect other aspects, manufacturing, logistics, supply chain management issues, cash flow issues, which all have to be, at least addressed, if not perfectly aligned. So yeah, but it's the first project that the team did by themselves. So I think the next one will be smoother.
Did it dovetail in nicely with your existing sales channels? Did you have to change that or broaden it for a product that affordable?
For now, we have the same distribution channel. So it's our partners. I think most of them are still the ones that started with us maybe 7, 8, 9, even 10 years ago.
Oh, outstanding. Are you still back ordered? Are you caught up? What's going on?
We caught up, but we're there. So let's say now we caught up and now we're steady, but we'll see.
I think it's your best in here. Just happens to be your least expensive one. I don't like the way it looks.
That's perfectly fine.
It's perfectly fine. So without going into specific things that you can't talk about, in general, what can people expect from Meze Audio and your 60 employees, maybe more down the road? Who knows? I don't know.
Product-wise?
I know that you can't talk specifics. I get it.
Well, we'll try to, let's say, fill in the gaps that we have in our portfolio when it comes to price points and potential products, because we still have a huge gap from $800 to $2,000.
Okay.
Then we have the 105, which we will release at the end of this year, so this quarter. And then more IEMs will go upwards in performance.
I don't think you can really go down in price anyway.
In price, no. So
no.
Yeah. Maybe some other stuff that we
cannot
really talk about.
No, understood. Well, I'm very excited. I mean, for you guys and everything you've accomplished. When I think of the start, like day one of meeting you in IFA, and of course at that point I don't have the whole picture. I didn't realize you guys were sleeping out in the parking lot. But at the end of the day, later on, as we got to know each other, I did learn an awful lot about the business as it advanced through every stage, and it's one of the really exciting stories. We have several exciting, really growth stories in this industry, and yours is definitely one of them. And so I'm very excited for you guys and what comes next. But I want to just thank you guys for taking the time to come out and visit HeadFi HQ before going back to, where are you going next?
Chicago.
Chicago.
We'll visit Zach.
Are you visiting ZMF?
Yeah, very excited.
That's so cool. I love that. That's community even on the manufacturer level.
Yeah, it's really nice.
I haven't even been to his factory yet. They got the new one. They've got the new factory, I guess, but I haven't been to it yet. How big is your factory, by the way?
Square feet, or I mean,
I'm just curious because I think Zach's new place is like 8,000 square feet. Our office is tiny. Our HeadFi HQ is like 1,300 square feet.
Let me think in feet. It's 1,700 square meters.
Oh, goodness gracious! So that's big.
I don't know in square feet.
Did you just say 1,700 square meters?
1,700. 1,700
square meters.
Yes.
Oh, that's huge, actually. Then,
well, including offices and everything.
No,
so
that's
the
still
whole facility. Yeah.
So to give you an idea, I think this one's about 115 square meters. Wow, that's gigantic.
Well,
okay.
It's not gigantic.
It's not gigantic.
It fills up fast.
Oh, trust me. For us, because if you're watching this, you don't understand how tight we're really shoehorned in here. We tried our best to make it look like it's a reasonable size, but it's actually pretty tight. We're like running into wires, tripping over stands. But that's great. I didn't realize I haven't visited you guys yet.
Yeah,
please
you're
do.
welcome.
Yeah, am I welcome? So if I go to buy a Mare, I want to check it out. I didn't realize you guys had that much space. But anyways, thank you so much for coming to visit us here at HeadFi HQ, tripping over stands, ducking under wires in our 115 square meters.
Thank you very much for
Thank you,
having
John.
us. It's really exciting